Welcome to Daily Office Devotions, where every Monday through Friday we ask how God might direct our lives from that day's scripture readings as given in the Book of Common Prayer. I'm Reggie Kidd, and I'm grateful to be with you this Wednesday of the second week of Epiphany. We are in year 1 of the Daily Office Lectionary. Today I am struck by one of the most magnificent Epiphany aspects of Paul's letter to the Ephesians. Sleeper, awake. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 14. There's one thing the reading of Scripture keeps bringing me back to. The Bible is a book of hope, and the Apostle Paul's words radiate that hope. In the second half of Ephesians chapter 4 and the first half of Ephesians chapter 5, Paul elucidates all the ways that it's possible, even for those who profess Christ, to think that they can continue in the walking death and social alienation of sin. Recall Ephesians chapter 2. Fornication, greed, lying, stealing, wrangling, slander. I think we are all entirely too familiar with the powerful, downward dragging forces of those impulses, vestiges of what Paul calls the old self, Ephesians chapter 4, verse 22. But he really does seem to think that the people he's writing to don't have to stumble around in the dark. They don't have to succumb to the spiritual death that pervades the world around them and that once controlled their being. That is not the way you learned Christ, he says in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 20. Paul truly believes that Christ's light has begun to shine on these believers, that Christ's own resurrection life is something that he shares with them. And so Paul calls to them, sleeper, awake, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 14. I've thought a lot about what these words mean for me. Paul's sleeper awake challenges my bent towards Eeyore-ness. That is, my assumption that it's best to prepare for the worst to happen. Paul's sleeper awake challenges me to look for Christ to bring goodness and to show redemptive purpose in any situation. Paul's sleeper awake challenges my bent to sink into ultimately self and relationship destroying sources of solace when I'm tired or discouraged. You can fill in the blanks as to what those temptations might be for you. I know what they are for me. Paul's sleeper awake challenges me instead to thanksgiving. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 4. That is, taking stock of how much there is to be encouraged about and to building up. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. That is, to looking outside myself to those who need encouragement. Finally, as I live through a time of deep distrust in our civic life, and I know you feel it too, Paul's sleeper awake challenges my bent to throw up my hands in despair at the political, social, and economic divides in our society and in our world. Paul's sleeper awake challenges me to care more deeply about truthfulness in the public square and about the possibilities for being ready for every good work, as Paul puts it when he contemplates believers taking their place in their social world. Titus chapter 3, verse 1. I pray that we find Paul's sleeper awake giving us hope, strength, and resources beyond our imaginations. I pray we find Christ himself shining upon us, as Paul says, radiating his own joy at his life in you and in me. Be blessed this day.